Hi, you're watching 13th Whisper. The line between truth and terror is thinner than you think, and today we're going to cross it. Subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share it with your friends. Some stories don't like being told. Let's begin. The cursed inheritance. Some inheritances come with more than just a house. They come with secrets, shadows, and things that should never be let out. This is the story of a family who moved into a new home in rural Maine, hoping for a fresh start, only to find something waiting for them in the basement. Something that knew their fears, their names, and their every move. Let's dive into the nightmare of the inheritance. Emily Harper had always dreamed of a quiet life for her kids, a place where they could run through fields, climb trees, and grow up away from the noise of the city. So when she inherited her grandfather's old house in the countryside of Maine, just outside the small town of Millinocket, it felt like a gift from fate. Emily, a single mom in her late 30s, had been struggling to make ends meet in Boston, working long hours as a nurse while raising her two kids. Jacob, a curious 12-year-old with a knack for getting into trouble, and Sophie, an 8-year-old who loved drawing and always carried a stuffed bunny named Mr. Flops. The house was a chance to start over, to build a new life. Emily's grandfather, Henry, had passed away a year ago, leaving the house to her in his will. She'd only visited it once as a child, remembering it as a big, creaky place with a wraparound porch and a weather vane shaped like a rooster. It needed work, but it was theirs. "It'll be an adventure," Emily told her kids as they packed their bags, trying to sound more excited than nervous. Jacob rolled his eyes, muttering about leaving his friends, but Sophie bounced in her seat, clutching Mr. Flops. "Will there be ghosts, Mommy?" she asked, her eyes wide. Emily laughed, ruffling her hair. "No ghosts, sweetie. Just a big old house for us to make our own." They arrive on a crisp October afternoon, the leaves a blaze of red and gold, the air smelling of pine and damp earth. The house looms at the end of a dirt road, its gray clapboard siding peeling, the windows dark and uninviting, the rooster weather vane spinning lazily in the breeze. It's bigger than Emily remembers, with a sagging roof and a porch that creaks under their weight. "It's rustic," Emily says, forcing a smile as she unlocks the door. Inside, the house is a time capsule. A wood-burning stove sits in the kitchen. Faded wallpaper peels in the living room, and a grandfather clock stands in the hallway, its hands frozen at 3:15. The air is heavy with the scent of dust and something sour, something that lingers in the back of your throat. Jacob drops his backpack, kicking at a loose floorboard. "This place is a dump," he grumbles, but his eyes light up when he spots a narrow staircase leading to the second floor. "Dibs on the biggest room," he shouts, racing upstairs. Sophie clings to Emily's hand, her bunny tucked under her arm. "It's cold in here," she whispers, her breath fogging slightly in the air. Emily rubs her arms, noticing the chill. "We'll get the heat going. Don't worry," she says, though she can't shake the feeling that the cold isn't just from the weather. They spend the first day unpacking, filling the house with the sounds of their voices, trying to make it feel like home. Emily sets up the kitchen, humming as she unpacks dishes, while Jacob claims a bedroom with a slanted ceiling and a window overlooking the woods. Sophie picks a smaller room with a faded mural of flowers on the wall, setting Mr. Flops on the bed. "This is our new start," Emily tells them over dinner. Boxed pizza on paper plates, the only thing she could manage without a working stove. But as the sun sets, casting long shadows through the windows, the house feels different. The creaks and groans of the old wood seem louder, more deliberate, like footsteps pacing above them. Jacob, always the brave one, shrugs it off. "It's just the house settling, Mom. You're being paranoid." Emily nods, but her eyes keep darting to the hallway, where the grandfather clock suddenly ticks once, its hands jerking to 3:16 before stopping again. That night, Emily is woken by a sound. A faint thump, like something heavy falling, coming from the basement. She sits up, her heart pounding, the digital clock on her nightstand glowing 3:15 a.m. The house is silent now, but the thump echoes in her mind. She grabs a flashlight and slips out of bed, her bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. The basement door is at the end of the hallway, its paint chipped, a rusted padlock hanging loosely from the latch. Emily hesitates, her hand on the doorknob, but the thought of her kids sleeping upstairs pushes her forward. She unlocks the door, the hinges squealing as it opens, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air is damp, smelling of mold and something metallic, like old blood. Her flashlight beam cuts through the gloom, illuminating cobwebs and stacks of old furniture, chairs with broken legs, a crack mirror, a child's rocking horse that sways faintly, though there's no draft to move it. In the center of the basement, on a small wooden table, sits a box. It's about the size of a shoebox, made of dark wood, its surface carved with intricate patterns that look like thorns, or maybe faces, depending on the angle. A single word is etched into the lid: "Don't." Emily's stomach twists, her instincts screaming at her to leave, but curiosity gets the better of her. She reaches for the box, her fingers brushing the carved surface, and the air grows colder, her breath fogging in front of her. The lid is heavy, the wood creaking as she lifts it, revealing a small, tarnished key inside, resting on a bed of black velvet. There's nothing else, no note, no explanation. But the moment the lid opens, a sound fills the basement, a low whisper that seems to come from the walls themselves. "You shouldn't have..." Emily slams the lid shut, her heart racing, and the whisper stops, but the cold lingers, seeping into her bones. She grabs the box and hurries upstairs, locking the basement door behind her, her hands trembling as she shoves the box into a drawer in the kitchen. "It's nothing," she tells herself, trying to steady her breathing. "Just an old house playing tricks." But as she climbs back into bed, she hears it again. A faint whisper, this time from the hallway. "Emily." The next morning, Emily tries to focus on fixing up the house, but the box weighs on her mind. She doesn't tell the kids about it, not wanting to scare them, but Jacob notices her unease. "You okay, Mom?" he asks, his brow furrowed as he helps her sweep the living room. Emily forces a smile. "Just tired, bud. This place needs more work than I thought." Sophie, sitting on the floor with her crayons, looks up, her eyes wide. "Mr. Flops heard something last night," she says, her voice small. "He said there's a shadow man in the basement." Emily kneels beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "It was just a dream, sweetie. There's no shadow man." But Sophie shakes her head, clutching her bunny tighter. "He's real. He wants to play." Jacob snorts, rolling his eyes. "You're such a baby, Soph. There's nothing down there." But his curiosity gets the better of him, and while Emily is outside unloading more boxes from the car, he sneaks into the kitchen, finding the drawer where she hid the box. Sophie follows him, her bunny dangling from her hand. "Don't touch it, Jake," she whispers. But Jacob ignores her, pulling the box out and running his fingers over the carved word. "Don't," he reads aloud, smirking. "What's Mom hiding?" He lifts the lid, the key glinting inside, and the air shifts. a cold breeze sweeping through the kitchen, though all the windows are closed. Sophie whimpers, stepping back, but Jacob laughs nervously. See? It's just a key. Nothing scary about that. But as he closes the lid, a shadow moves across the wall. A tall, thin shape with long claw-like fingers. There one moment and gone the next. That night, the house comes alive with sounds. Whispers that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. Footsteps pacing in the hallway. The grandfather clock ticking again. Its hands moving backward. Emily wakes to find her bedroom door open. The hallway dark, except for a faint, flickering light coming from downstairs. She grabs her flashlight and follows the light to the kitchen, where the box sits on the counter. Its lid open, the key gone. "Jacob?" she calls, her voice trembling. But there's no answer. She hears a giggle, Sophie's giggle, coming from the basement. The door is open again, the padlock lying on the floor, and Emily's heart sinks as she descends the stairs, her flashlight shaking in her hand. At the bottom, she finds Sophie standing in the middle of the basement, her bunny on the floor, her small hands clutching the key. "Sophie, what are you doing?" Emily whispers, her voice tight with fear. Sophie turns, her eyes wide, but her smile is wrong. Too wide, too sharp. "He wanted to play, Mommy," she says, her voice layered with another deeper voice that isn't hers. Behind her, the shadows on the wall twist, forming a figure. A tall, thin creature with long, bony arms, its fingers ending in claws that scrape against the concrete floor. Its eyes are empty, black voids, but they glow faintly, like dying embers, and its mouth is a jagged slit, whispering Emily's name. "Emily, you opened it." Emily grabs Sophie, pulling her back. But the creature, the keeper, steps forward, its movements jerky, like a puppet on broken strings. "You woke me," it hisses, its voice a mix of whispers, each one echoing a different fear. "I know you, Emily. You're afraid of failing them, afraid of losing them." The keeper's claws reach for Sophie, and Emily screams, shoving her daughter behind her, her flashlight beam shaking as she swings it at the creature. The light passes through it, but the keeper recoils, its form flickering, as if the light hurts it. "Run, Sophie!" Emily shouts, and they bolt up the stairs, slamming the door behind them, but the whispers follow, seeping through the walls. "You can't run! I see you!" Jacob, woken by the noise, stumbles into the hallway, his face pale. "What's going on?" he demands. But the house shakes, the lights flickering, and the grandfather clock chimes 3:15, the sound reverberating through the walls. The keeper's voice fills the house, now speaking through Sophie's bunny, which sits on the kitchen counter, its glass eyes glowing red. "Give me one, or I take all." Emily grabs the kids, pulling them into the living room, her mind racing. "We need to get out of here," she says. But when she tries the front door, it won't budge, the knob freezing cold, frost creeping up the wood. The windows are the same, the glass covered in ice, trapping them inside. The keeper's presence grows stronger. The air so cold, their breath fogs, their fingers numbing. Jacob, trying to be brave, grabs a fireplace poker, his hands shaking. "What is that thing?" he asks, his voice cracking. Emily's eyes dart to the box on the counter, the carved word, "Don't," mocking her. "I don't know," she admits, "but I think I let it out." Sophie clings to her, sobbing. "It's the Shadow Man, Mommy. He's mad because we opened his box." The keeper's whispers grow louder, now coming from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. "I know your fears, Jacob. You're afraid of being weak. Sophie, you're afraid of the dark. The shadows in the room stretch, forming claws that reach for the kids, and Emily pulls them closer, her heart pounding. She remembers the key in Sophie's hand, the way the keeper recoiled from the light. The key! It's tied to the box, she says, her voice trembling but determined. We need to lock it back in. Jacob shakes his head, his eyes wide. That thing came from the basement, Mom. We're not going down there. But the keeper's claws scrape against the basement door, the wood splintering, and Emily knows they have no choice. We have to, she says, grabbing a lantern from the kitchen. Its flame flickering as she lights it. Stay close to me. They creep back to the basement, the air growing colder with each step. The whispers now a cacophony of voices, all speaking their fears. You'll fail them, Emily. You'll lose them. The keeper is waiting at the bottom of the stairs, its form larger now, its claws dripping with a black, oily substance that smells of decay. Sophie screams, dropping the key, and it skitters across the floor, landing near the rocking horse, which begins to sway violently, its wooden creaks echoing through the basement. Jacob lunges for the key, his fingers brushing the cold metal, but the keeper's claws slash at him, leaving a deep gash across his arm, black ooze mixing with his blood. He cries out, clutching his arm, but manages to grab the key, tossing it to Emily. Do it, Mom! He shouts, his voice raw. Emily holds the lantern high, its light casting shadows that make the keeper hiss, its form flickering as it retreats. She grabs the box from the table, her hands shaking as she places the key inside, but the keeper lunges, its claws wrapping around her wrist, the cold burning her skin. You're mine, it whispers, its voice in her head, filling her with images of her kids screaming, trapped in darkness forever. Sophie, trembling, grabs the lantern from Emily's hand, holding it up to the keeper's face, the light shining directly into its empty eyes. The creature screeches, a sound that shakes the house, the walls cracking as it stumbles back, its form dissolving into smoke. Emily slams the lid shut, the carved patterns glowing faintly as the whispers stop, the cold lifting, the air warming. The keeper's screech fades, its form sucked back into the box, the shadows retreating until the basement is silent again. The rocking horse stops swaying, the lantern's flame steady now. Emily collapses, pulling her kids into her arms, their breaths ragged, their bodies trembling. Jacob's arm is a mess, the black gash still burning. But he's alive. Sophie clings to her bunny, its eyes normal again, the red glow gone. Is it over, Mommy? She whispers, her voice small. Emily nods, though her eyes are haunted. It's over, baby, she says. But she keeps the box in her hands, unwilling to let it go. They leave the house at dawn, piling into the car with nothing but the clothes on their backs, the box locked in the trunk. Emily drives to the nearest town, her hands gripping the wheel, her eyes darting to the rear view mirror, half expecting to see the keeper's face staring back. They check into a motel, and Emily buries the box in the woods behind it, covering it with rocks, hoping it's enough to keep the keeper trapped. But some nights, she hears whispers in her dreams, faint but unmistakable. I see you. The house in Maine sits empty now, the rooster weather vane spinning in the wind, the basement door still locked. The locals say they hear whispers sometimes, coming from the woods, but no one dares to investigate. So, what do you think? Would you open the box? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more terrifying stories. Until next time, stay safe and keep the shadows at bay. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, all the way to the end. If you enjoyed these stories, leave a like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks horror is just fiction. The scariest things happen when you think it's all over. I'll see you very soon. And don't forget, check under the bed before you sleep.